Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for National Apprenticeship Week. So this is our first stop for the week. I am Holly Free Allard. I'm the State Apprenticeship Director, and thank you so much for being a part of this. I want to extend our gratitude to Dr. Cheney for allowing us to come to her beautiful campus today and for being great partnerships with apprenticeship. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
So how are you? Welcome to TCAT Knox. If you haven't heard or don't know much about TCAT Knoxville, we are a campus that is growing so fast that you could probably see the headaches in the parking lot. So I should apologize to you as guests that we don't have reserved parking, but there's just no way to do that when we're at capacity enrollment, which is a good thing. I cannot complain about capacity enrollment, but I hope you find your stay here today welcoming and inviting, and you make yourself at home. And if you want to look around campus, or if you really want to see that beautiful mobile welding lab out front, we will certainly give you the grand tour of that as well. TCATs across the system are very fortunate to be where we are sitting today as far as enrollment goes, as far as the capacity wait list, with the investment that Governor Lee and the legislature made in TCATs across the system to collapse that wait list. We were one of those schools that was very fortunate in that initiative, and we were able to expand our nursing program and our welding program to literally collapse those wait lists. And that's been very good for us. It's been very good for our students. You can see, if you decide to take a tour or look around campus, we'll gladly show you around and see some of the things that are going on here because of that. But for all of our friends at the state and others, welcome. To our private citizens and guests, welcome. We're always glad to have people here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to host this group today. We love to have guests. And then hopefully, the plan is within the next year, we are acquiring some parking across the road. That will be flat, and you will have a flat way into the main campus and an adjoining building. So if you want to come back, I'll have things in better weather, hopefully, and better parking. But those are some of the things that we're working on. What you may need to know or not need to know or just be curious about, TCAT Knox, this is our main campus. It is our hub where we host about 16 programs and lots of workforce development. We are a school that you can see it in our mission, but what we do is workforce development. So we're really excited about that. But to expand on that reach, we just opened our campus in Anderson County in January, and that is in partnership with Roane State Community College. They are actually our partner. We are the lead institution on that facility, and they are our partner and have classes there. Another cool thing happened this year as well. We opened our Blount County campus, also known as the Ruth and Steve West Workforce Development Center. That is in partnership with Pellissippi State. So there we have a brand new welding lab. We have heavy equipment operator training. If you haven't heard, there's a huge deficit in the state of heavy equipment operators. So we are the proud partner to launch that training. And then our newest adventure that is coming, I'm going to call it an adventure because it hasn't really started yet, but the paperwork's in process. We are opening a campus in Union County, and that is to specifically address some workforce development needs in Union County. Our campus there is going to be right across the road from Union County High School. And the vision there is that students will come to high school, and then at nighttime they can transition right into TCAT coursework after they graduate, or we can host a number of dual enrollment opportunities during the daytime. So that is really exciting for us to be able to expand our reach and our footprint there and into some more rural counties. But the cool thing is we love what we do at TCAT Knox, technical education. I'm just going to be bold and say it's the heartbeat of the American economy, but we are so proud to partner with our community college partnerships. If anyone here from UT? No? With our university across town. I call them our big brother. Sometimes I call them our little brother. I get a little cocky about that, but that's okay. That's okay. They are one of our clients in workforce development. We train their maintenance technicians. So they come here 2 nights a week for training, and we're proud of that relationship as well. but everything we do is centered around workforce development. We are looking to definitely grow our apprenticeship market and things that we should be doing there. And I have this big, audacious goal that I'm going to have a nursing apprenticeship someday. I'm working on it. We're just not there yet. But that is something that I want to work toward for our institution. But I won't hold you up anymore, and I took way longer than I should have. So thank you, and thank all of you for being here, and these lovely ladies behind me. Thank you all for tolerating me chatting for a minute about TCAT Knox. So here we go. So much.
Real quickly, I'll just give you a little bit of housekeeping. Restrooms down the hall to the right. One thing, too, if you notice when you came in, the doors lock. So when you leave, if you walk out, be careful. You may get locked out. So let somebody know you're coming in and out so you're not locked out in the rain. Okay, next, I would like to introduce my boss, our boss, Assistant Commissioner Steve Plell.
Thank you, Holly. So I'll be very brief. Thank you guys for being here today. National Apprenticeship Week. This is our first event, first in-person event that we've had as Apprenticeship TN has been around. So really excited about that and excited for you to be here again. I serve as Assistant Commissioner at the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. Partnerships, we just heard, it is the key to everything. And as I look around the room, being back in East Tennessee, there's a lot of partners in the room. I want to thank you for being here. We could not make Tennessee what it is, and we cannot be moving forward as a state in the way that we are moving forward economically without your partnership. So a special thank you to Tennessee College of Applied Technology here in Knoxville for hosting and for being a great partner. A lot of our staff are in the room, so I want to thank our Apprenticeship TN staff, Holly Free-Allard, and the rest of the team. Everybody, thank you guys for being here, for doing what you do, for helping to put on this event, and the rest of the events the rest of this week. So we're in Middle Tennessee tomorrow. We're in West Tennessee on Thursday, doing very similar events talking about apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is booming in the state of Tennessee, and I don't want to steal all the thunder. I'm not trying to here, but apprenticeship is booming in the state of Tennessee. We've got over 7,000 apprentices, or right at 7,000 active apprentices. It's incredible. We, in the last year, have transitioned to a state apprenticeship agency. We're only the second state in the last 50 years or something like that. To do that, to move from a federal Office of Apprenticeship state, which they were our regulatory authority, to a state apprenticeship agency, what that means is that we get to regulate ourselves in that way, and we get to monitor, approve programs. Really cuts down on our cycle time and helps us to be more responsive to businesses and employers across the state. Still get the same credentials, still get the same, all the benefits, all the perks of a nationally registered apprenticeship program, but we just get to do that at a much more efficient pace here in Tennessee and meet our needs of our employers. It's incredible. And we have the most, as a result, on track to have the most apprenticeship programs that we've had as a state, on track to eclipse the most apprentices that we've ever had in state history. We've got plans this year to increase the most certified pre-apprenticeships in state history. It's incredible the work that's happening. New occupations, apprenticeable occupations coming online in January. First in the nation, first state in the nation to get teacher apprentices on board. That occupation on board is an apprenticeable occupation. So proud of that partnership and thankful for that partnership with the Department of Education, University of Tennessee system, all of our post-secondary partners that have helped to make that possible. And so there's a lot. There's a lot happening in this space. Too much to talk about from me. But we've got some great folks here that are going to tell you all about the work that they're doing in their respective spaces and places regarding apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship. And so with that, Holly, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Or Jessica, I'm going to turn it to you. Who am I talking to? Holly. Thank you guys again. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Anything else? I don't want to give it up now. Now that I have this, I don't want to give it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. So now we're going to turn it over to Jessica Barnett. Jessica is our East Director. So all of you who are interested, you may have worked with Jessica in the past. I know we have a lot of partners out there, a lot of familiar faces. If you have questions, she's your contact person. So now you have a face and a name. So Jessica.
Good morning. How is everyone? I'm glad you guys made it safe. I heard a lot about the traffic and the weather, so thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate that. As Holly stated, I'm the East Regional Apprenticeship Director, and thank you for attending this is our first in-person state apprenticeship conference for National Apprenticeship Week, so this is a big deal for us. I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it. I'm not going to waste our time because this is the show here, our panel. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into introducing our panel. First, we have here Carolyn Farrell. Carolyn is Vice President of Human Resources and Community Relations at the Robinette Company in Bristol, Tennessee. Carolyn received her BBA and MBA from King University in Bristol. She is a certified Six Sigma Green Belt, as well as a certified senior professional in human resources and senior HR professional. Carolyn is currently a board member and past president of the United Way of Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia, and served as campaign chairman in 2017. She serves on various other boards and committees, to include chairman for the University of Tennessee Center for Industrial Services Advisory Council. She's a member of Sullivan County's ACT Work Ready Community Committee, a volunteer for Bristol, Tennessee School System's Reading Buddies program, Meals on Wheels, lay leader at Adeline United Methodist Church. She's also a past chairman and board member of Network Sullivan Partnership for Economic Development, past chair for the Northeast Tennessee Workforce Development Board, past chairman of the Bristol Chamber of Commerce, past council chairman and chairman for the Staff Parish Relations Committee for Adeline Memorial United Methodist Church. And in addition, she's a member of the Northeast Tennessee Society for Human Resource Management. Carolyn and her husband Les reside in Bristol. Thank you, Carolyn, for being here today. Next, we have Pam Giddett. Did I get that? Good. Pam started managing registered apprenticeships in 2017, first at Harper College in Palatine, Illinois, and at Chattanooga State Community College since 2019. Her expertise is writing programs tailored to the needs of her employers, whether they're small businesses or multinational corporations. She holds an MA in English from California State University at Long Beach. Welcome, Pam. And finally, we have Deidre Penley. Deidre is in her 4th year as the Director of Career and Technical Education for Bristol, Tennessee City Schools, and has been an assistant principal at Tennessee High School since 2011. She was recently recognized as the CTE Pioneer Award State Designee, and BTCS was awarded the Innovative High School Grant, through which they are currently implementing the Viking Academy at the new Friendship Career Center in Bristol. Prior to administration, Ms. Penley spent 14 years teaching math and ACT prep at Tennessee High School, as well as coaching tennis and soccer. Before moving to Bristol, she taught math and coached varsity volleyball and basketball at Science Hill High School for 6 years. She earned a BS in mathematics education from the University of Nebraska, an MA in education from Tusculum University, an educational specialist from Lincoln Memorial, and another EDS from the University of Tennessee, where she was part of the UT Leadership Academy. Welcome, Deidre. So thank you, ladies, for being willing to serve on the panel and discuss your experience and your expertise around registered apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeship. So we're happy to have you guys here. So before we jump into the panel questions, show of hands, how many are familiar or know quite a bit about registered apprenticeship programs? All right, that's awesome. How many think, I have no clue, don't know where to start, but I'm glad I'm here, but maybe I can learn something? Oh, there's a few more. Some of the same. Awesome. So this will be a great panel for you guys to learn what registered apprenticeship programs are. For those of you who may not be really clear, registered apprenticeship programs, it's a great model. It's a proven success model for workforce to develop skilled employees in your organization to develop those skill sets that you may be needing or have those skill gaps. So what you need to keep in mind whenever you're listening to these ladies talk, and even when we get into the Q&A session, is that there's 3 roles in a registered apprenticeship program. There's the sponsor, the employer, and the training provider. And these ladies up here, they play some of those parts in their registered apprenticeship programs that they either sponsor or that they are the employer of. And so you'll be able to take away some tidbits from them to learn that. And then we'll also open it up for question and answer afterwards. And then I, again, am always available, as well as the apprenticeship team, to answer questions as well. So we're going to get started. Carolyn, first tell us about the Robinette Company. Let everyone know what exactly it is that you guys do, what you produce, so that they can get a good idea.
Well, first of all, I would like to know if Dr. Cheney is still in the room. No, good. So when she was talking about parking, I would just like to go down and saying, I am 6 feet away from that fire hydrant, okay? So, as she said, I am Carolyn Farrell, and I've been with the Robinette Company a little over 10 years. The Robinette Company is the best kept secret in Bristol, and probably a non-secret or a non-entity in East Tennessee as a whole. So what we do is we are make paper packaging, and we print for a lot of the food providers in the nation. You can tell I haven't practiced because I'm going, So, for example, if you use Kingsford charcoal, how many of you used Kingsford charcoal? Yep, got it by your grill, right? So we manufactured that bag. We are the largest manufacturer of Kingsford charcoal products in the world. We also print for Clorox Company, the flexographic film that goes around the Clorox wipes. We are the thing that holds that together. We also work for or have customers in the milling industry. So Martha White Lily, all Quaker Oats. We don't make anything that's cardboard, but anything that is packaging that goes around it. We have a lot of woven polypropylene, and what that means is those big, huge bags that you see in Walmart and the big box stores that can fall off the shelf and not break, and you can't tear them, and sometimes they're hard to open. But there is a trick. I can teach it to you. So we manufacture those. So Purina, Fresh Step Kitty Litter. So we manufacture for a lot of big name folks, and we're very proud to do that. The greatest thing is going through the grocery store and looking on the shelves and go, oh, our people did that and that and that. So that's what the Robinette Company does.
And we appreciate you guys in 2020 during the pandemic for that Clorox wipes.
We worked 24/7 during the pandemic, and it was a crapshoot who was going to come in that on any given day, because it was tough. But you're very welcome.
Thank you. So the Robinette Company, you decided to start a USDOL registered apprenticeship program. And in particular, you registered the occupation for assistant press operator Weber. First, tell us, why did your company decide to start a registered apprenticeship program, and why this particular occupation?
Well, it was purely for selfish reasons. We, like everybody in the room, were looking for employees during this period of time, and even before then. There are not a lot of manufacturing entities in Northeast Tennessee, as Mr. Playo can attest to. He's from that area. And it was really selfish. We had high turnover and wanted to make sure that people knew that there were jobs available that you could begin at and make a career with for as long as you wanted to work there. So that's really why we started. And I hate to say it, but it was pretty selfish reasons.
That's great. So you service the employer piece to those roles that we were talking about, and you work with Northeast State Community College. They serve as your sponsor. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that kind of all came together and how you worked with them to get everything, your program set up and stood up?
Sure. So I guess it was Tyra and Jessica that first approached us. Northeast State, who's been a great partner in our area for many years, they agreed, to sponsor us. It wasn't hard at all to get started. Pretty much, I did my day-to-day stuff. They told me what I needed to do, and I gave it to them. It was just that easy. You can't get any more simpler than that. There are 5 steps. And I think it's on the website. I know you all printed it out and sent it to me, so I didn't have to go look on the website. But it was easy, and you follow the 5 steps, and boom, you're there.
Great. So how has Registered Apprenticeship benefited your organization?
It has benefited because the current employees see that there's a pathway forward and that they can get some education under their belt and still have a job and an employer who's willing to walk beside them. And it has been good. Of course, we did some social media advertising and some newspaper print and that kind of thing, advertising. And it was, we got some good response from that.
Great. So we'll move to Pam next.
Good, I'm done.
So Pam, she's here representing Chattanooga State Community College, and they serve as a sponsor for registered apprenticeship programs. And so Pam, as you know, there are multitudes of occupations that are out there that can be registered. Will you share the variety of occupations that you guys have right now across the industries?
As of 7:30 last night, we're up to 14 programs. We got approval for a new one for paralegals. This is going to be our second apprenticeship in white collar. The first one was medical assistant. But the bulk of our apprenticeships are in the traditional fields of advanced manufacturing. Industrial maintenance is far and away the most popular program. We also have press operator, we have die setter, we have tool and die maker. The one I am most excited and proud of is pattern maker. We started that one in 2020, and if you don't know what a pattern maker is, don't feel bad. It is a dying art. The employer works in cast iron, and of course, to cast iron, you have to have a mold. But where does the mold come from? The mold gets made around a pattern, and patterns are usually made of wood. So what we had to do to create this apprenticeship was we had to bring 3 big pieces together. We've got our TCAT program in machine tooling is providing the bulk of the schooling that these apprentices are getting. On top of that, they're getting online practice in advanced math, including trigonometry through Tooling U, which is a online-only training. And then through our workforce development office, we set them up to get 40 hours of private contract training in carpentry, where they're learning to use both hand and power tools. So it was I was very nervous bringing that program together. I didn't know if it was all going to come together in time, but with the help of our workforce development office, right over there, they pulled me across the finish line, and it's going beautifully. We welcomed our second cohort last January, and this coming January, they're sending us 4 more. So we will have our 3rd cohort of pattern making apprentices.
So as a college sponsor, will you give an overview of how you serve the employers in your area as sponsor? What kind of discussions do you have with those employers?
Okay, typically the first discussion is talking to them about apprenticeships and what apprenticeships are and how they work. I try to do those meetings in person whenever possible. So I walk in and we introduce ourselves and I say, tell me what's going on. And they They tell me everything I need to know. They tell me where it hurts. They tell me what's going well. They tell me what they'd like to do in the future. And then once I've heard all about what they're looking for and what they need, then we can start talking about how our programs can work for them. And if we decide that we need a new program, like we did with a law firm about a month and a half ago, we start working on the new program together. And we build it to their specifications as much as we possibly can. And then once the program is launched, I help them to varying degrees with recruiting, getting their employees, these new employees in the door. I am the one-stop shop for these students when it's time to register for anything. I make sure they're talking to the people they need to talk to get registered. We get their books for them, so they don't have to deal with the bookstore or getting their online subscriptions taken care of. We handle all of that for them. All they have to do is show up for class on the first day, and the employers do appreciate that because these students, most of you know about registered apprenticeships, you know they are working full-time. And so we have to schedule our classes around their schedules. Our apprentices are allowed to come to school half-time at our TCAT. They are the only ones who are allowed to do that. And that is a huge piece of why our programs are working so well, because the school is working to make sure that these apprentices are getting the best possible experience they can. They're getting the training they need. Training dovetails beautifully with the on-the-job training, and we are producing excellent employees who stay with their companies and keep going.
Thank you, Pam. That's great information to hear. So let's move to Deidre. Deidre, you have employers coming to you to discuss how they can partner for pre-apprenticeships. You want to talk a little bit about that and what they're looking for and what they're asking for and how you work to get connected with employers?
So the pre-apprenticeship is at the high school level. So as CTE director, and I've been blessed in Bristol to have a community of employers that are plugged into the school system. So, and that would, I guess I wanted to add also, when we had an event that was our industry day, our teacher industry day, and we invited the Apprenticeship TN folks to come in and give presentations on apprenticeships. And that sparked that interest also with several employees or employers that were there at that event. But with the pre-apprenticeship, what we do, and we have 3 of those set up now, is meet with the employers as well. Face-to-face, like what you're saying, is the best thing, and we say, what do you need? So what we have been fortunate in learning is that we are actually already doing those things. So our first pre-apprenticeship program was in construction with J.A. Street Construction in Bristol and Sullivan County area, and we were doing the NCCER industry certification already. Well, that was what they were looking for. So we wrote that into our pre-apprenticeship program that's funneling students into their 4-year apprenticeship that they've set up with Northeast State and with their HR department there at J.A. Street. So with that, our students actually get credit for that NCCER 72 hours that they actually get to skip the first class of the apprenticeship because they've learned that in high school. We also do the OSHA 10 industry certification. And so we wrote that into our pre-apprenticeship program. We're going to get them the NCCER. We're going to get them the OSHA 10. And really the only hook for the employer is if we send you someone that we recommend that has good attendance and is no discipline record to speak of, that you'll interview them. And it's just worked out really tremendously well. So
now we're going to go to Carolyn. We're having to pass the mic back and forth. Carolyn, it's hard to find people these days, like you mentioned earlier before. How does this help you with that issue? And can you kind of talk about how you've developed a pipeline of talent using the pre-apprenticeship model and registered apprenticeship?
Well, we became acquainted with the pre-apprenticeship program because we were partnered with Tennessee Bristol, Tennessee High School, and we were already immersed in the work-based learning program that they have, which is an excellent thing in addition to the pre-apprenticeship program. It has been very, very helpful. It's nice to see, and I think there's going to be a video later that you'll see our first pre-apprentice that we had, and it's quite moving. When the first time I saw it, I cried. You know, I'm a pushover. I cried, but we'll hand out Kleenexes. Don't worry. But it's really helped the pipeline, and it also helps us to see that subset of students that actually do better with hands-on. I don't care what anyone says. I've been doing this a very, very long time. Not everyone is cut out for a 4-year degree. They are just not. You have folks who are good with their hands, they're mechanically inclined. They don't give one jot about going to a 4-year college. And that's just life. It just is. And I was so pleased to see that our state and our local legislators, they woke up and saw the light and started, pushing apprenticeship programs and pre-apprenticeship programs in the school, because it is really the foundation to catapult these young people that we don't need on the street, that we need, working and paying taxes and having families and staying in Tennessee. It's what we need to keep them, to keep our area and our communities thriving.
Thank
That was a long explanation.
You
wasn't
were
it?
wonderful. You were wonderful. So if we can pass the mic back to Deidre. Deidre, will you share the story of Anthony that's in the pre-apprenticeship with the Robinette Company, and also just kind of talk about how receptive the students are to pre-apprenticeship? And I think you already kind of touched on it, but how you're getting word out to the students.
Right. So one of the things that we did because of COVID, we couldn't take our students to job fairs, career fairs, those kinds of things during that time. So we created we call it our virtual industry tours that are shown during our homeroom time at Tennessee High School. And one of the first ones that we showed was the Robinette Company. We have a great partnership with Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services, who had done a program called Made in Sullivan County featuring Robinette Company. So we show the video during homeroom, Carolyn speaking, and then, shows the video of the things that they do there at the Robinette Company. And then we allow the students to ask questions. We gather all those questions. Then Carolyn gets on a video and answers those questions for the students. But during that time, Anthony was sitting in his homeroom at Tennessee High, and he says, "Oh, that's what I want to do," and tells his teacher, who happens to be our information technology teacher, that that's what he wants to do. So she brings him down to talk to me and talk to our career coach about that's what I want to do. Well, of course, we were looking for the first one that wanted to be kind of our first pre-apprenticeship student, and that was Anthony. So he saw that video and those answering of those questions that was personalized to the students, and he became our first one. So he now is working at the Robinette Company from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. I think he just had 6 months of perfect attendance, and he's just doing great. So we have a video to show of that, so that's kind of the whole way we're getting the word out, is through those virtual industry tours, but then also posting those things on social media. All of our parents are seeing that we have these partnerships and that we have the jobs available. So we also have our teachers in those programs, our machining teacher, our construction teacher, our welding teacher, recommending students for pre-apprenticeship. And you mentioned work-based learning, so If it works in the student's schedule, we try to get them so that they'll have work-based learning as a course and be able to leave, like say at 1 o'clock for their last period class and go work in that employer's business. Anthony happened to not have room in his schedule to do work-based learning, so he is working from 3 to 7. Once he does have that, probably his junior year. The other thing I needed to mention, he's 16. He's 16. So that is key, that the Robinette Company stepped up, had the Department of Labor come in, which is a little scary sometimes, to think of, but also to look at the jobs. These jobs a 16 or 17-year-old can do. We already know 18-year-olds are allowed on the manufacturing floor, and that's fine. But for me, from my perspective as a CTE director in the high school, if the only folks you're looking for have to be 18, I really can't help you a whole lot. And I want to help you, but I really can't help you a whole lot because they don't turn 18 until maybe the second semester of their senior year. And when we're registering them for classes, that comes in February of their junior year when we're saying, oh, well, you could take this. Well, I don't know that I can guarantee that you're going to be 18 yet by the time you take that course and get to leave, and our work-based learning, they have to have taken like 2 classes in that program of study, and then we try to find them placement related to that program of study, which we have great cooperation in Bristol, great partnerships with employers who will take our students. So that being 16 and 17, I just wanted to emphasize that. You saw me kind of jump up. I've got to say that because that is key. And we've fortunate that all 3 of our pre-apprenticeships, those employers have done the work, and they allow 16 and 17-year-olds to be there, so we can help them.
Thanks, Deidre. Pam. So, Pam, you recently assisted in signing, it was 3 school districts to 1 employer for a pre-apprenticeship program. Tell us a little bit about that process and what you learned and how that affected maybe your view as the college, as a sponsor for employers for registered apprenticeship programs and getting those started too.
Okay, well, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is going to build on what she just told you. We had launched our first pre-apprenticeship in August of this year with 5 students at Komatsu, and they are a massive multinational company that I'm sure you've heard of. We started planning that pre-apprenticeship a year ahead of time, and we had all 3 districts, their CTE directors were at the table. There were probably a half dozen people from Komatsu who were at every meeting. One of our team members is here, Autumn Derrick from the Southeast Tennessee Development District. We met pretty much every month for a solid year pulling that program together. And we needed all of that time because there are just so many moving parts when you're talking about high school students. And we wanted to be sure that everything was set up so that at the end of this year, where they're doing their pre-apprenticeship, they decide they want to continue. They are just going to slide into Chat State, start coming to our TCAT, and continue their apprenticeship. So it was everybody, lots of communication. Communication is key when you're talking about something like this, especially when you're, like she said, trying to do it with 3 different school districts. The employer had very specific ideas of what kind of training they wanted these students to have. They had to already have their OSHA 10 before they started. These are 2 different programs, industrial maintenance and welding. The welding students had to have taken 2 years of welding already at the high school level. So they had very specific ideas about what they wanted. We got all that, on the books. The students were selected by their teachers and CTE directors. And then Komatsu had one final ask. They wanted them to have to go through the full gauntlet of a real interview and submitting a resume. And so they gave them a chance to get the practice at going out there in the real world and getting a real job. And they are working in the mornings, round about, I think it's around maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock. They're eating lunch while they're driving back to their campuses, and they have the afternoons to be at school. And so this is, that's what's so great about pre-apprenticeships. Like Carolyn said, not everybody wants to go to a 4-year college. Some of these folks, 15, 16-year-olds, they already know what they want to do. And pre-apprenticeship gives them a chance to get started. Why should they spend their time working retail when they turn 16, when they could already be working at what they know and love and want to do? So that's pre-apprenticeships are very exciting. We're getting ready to launch 2 more. Valmont got approved, and Mueller Water Products is closing in on another one for them. So there's going to be a lot going on in Marion County in the next few months.
That's great. And so, Pam, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. Kind of talk about, for the audience, how the college can serve, you offer credit but non-credit courses too for those folks, for the employers who, they may want to pick and choose classes, or maybe they want an entire program. You want to talk a little bit about that, how you can serve in that role?
As the apprenticeship manager, I work out of our workforce development office. And if there are anyone else here who is an apprenticeship manager, if you're not doing that, I encourage you to try and make it happen, because workforce development, we have all the tools in the toolbox. If the employer wants credit classes, we can do credit. If they want TCAT classes, we can do TCAT. If they want something else like the carpentry for my pattern making class, hey, we can do that too, no problem. And so our boss, our VP, Bo Drake, he has one rule. That rule is no matter what they ask for, the answer is yes. And we make it happen. We haven't failed yet, so knock on wood, that will continue. But it makes my job a lot easier to know I have the backing of a bunch of people who are really good at coming up with a way to make whatever it is work. And now we're doing it, at the high school level. We're doing it at the full employee level. This is a little bit off track, but the vast majority of our current registered apprentices are incumbent workers. The average age of our apprentices is 28. This is not, a fresh out of high school game. It's for everybody.
Exactly. So, last thing, for each one of you, can you kind of depart any words of wisdom or an encouragement for those who may be thinking about, I think I want to get this started, kind of talk about how, like you were saying, Carolyn, it's not as hard as what you would think to get stood up, and how you can serve.
Well, so the pre-apprenticeship program that Deidre was talking about, the student is 16, and he is a minor. So I would caution you as to making sure that the parents are there every step of the way. I don't think we hit any bumps in the road, but it's very important that the parents be involved. We had a signing day, just like any athlete would have a signing day. Anthony had a hat that he put on. He had his Robinette shirt, and his parents were sitting to his left at the table, just like it was, a college athlete signing day. And his one thing that was really good, his classmates, his whole class, the whole CTE class attended, and they were cheering him on. It was just phenomenal, the support that he was getting from his friends. And advertisement, I might add. I'm always thinking in that direction, right? But so we are, going back to where he is a minor, we are a deposit only, because you can do that in the state of Tennessee. And so he had to have a bank account. And I would encourage you to encourage your student to make sure that the bank account is in his or her name with the parent as a sign-on. But for one thing, it needs to be in the student's name. It has to go into the name, the money has to go into the name of the account holder, has to be that person. So just, make sure that the student is able to grow and and I'm not saying break away from mom and dad, but to get the bigger feel of what it's like to be out in the real world.
Any words of encouragement, Pam, that you'd like to offer folks?
When I go to that first person meeting with the employer, I always tell them this because it always gets a laugh. I say, registered apprenticeships are administered and overseen by the State of Tennessee Apprenticeship Office and the Federal Department of Labor. But despite that, they're actually quite simple. And it's true, they are. There's really not a lot to an apprenticeship. You've got the employer, the training provider, the sponsor, and never forget the apprentice. And that's it. Those 4 pieces. They work together and voila. And if an employer is thinking about doing this, dipping a toe in, that's one of the wonderful things about someone like us who operates as sponsor. I tell the employers, you want to start with 1 person? We can start with 1. You want to start with 10? We can do 10. It enables us to be very flexible and, as always, give the employers what they need, because that is paramount for us.
And so Anthony's friends want to work at Robinette now. So, I mean, I've had students come up to me in the hallways. So as far as getting the word out, just having those events like that, and the word of mouth is the best way to share these programs, because they see those apprentices, they see that you're guaranteed a raise every 6 months. You know, if you just do what you're supposed to do, you get this. And so word of mouth is a great way to share that. I would like to ask you all, because I think there's several post-secondary folks in the room. Do you know your CTE director? I see some nodding, yeah. So your local high schools all have CTE directors that are so anxious to partner and to get pre-apprenticeship programs started, to work with employers. I mean, we're already doing this. I just came last week from our CTE director meeting for the state of Tennessee. It was all the way over in Pickwick State Park. It was a long ways away. But CTE directors are eager to work with employers and are eager to work with post-secondary and get programs started where we can funnel students to jobs, and not working retail or fast food, but coming into a job where they're making $15, $16, $17 an hour, and there's a future in that business or industry that they can move up. So I would also echo, it is simple. It really is simple. The paperwork for a pre-apprenticeship is about 3 pages, 3 or 4, and really we're just looking for what does the employer need. You want us to have 180 skills as a program that they learn some skills through. We'll put it in our manufacturing class, and that'll be part of the curriculum. And we have done that, and it was sponsored by Apprenticeship TN, so it didn't even cost us anything. So through a grant that they had. So I would just think of that door as wide open, and just starting those conversations and working together to make these opportunities for people that need jobs, because they're there, and if we can help, we sure want to.
Well, thank you all. This has been wonderful to share the stage with you all and hear your experience about registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. I know the audience has questions, but before we jump into that, I am going to show a short video that's highlighting the pre-apprenticeship between the Robinette Company and Tennessee High. That is the young man named Anthony, and it will tug on your heartstrings. That's all I'm going to say.
Hello, y'all. My name is Anthony Campbell. I'm a sophomore at Tennessee High, and the reason I got into manufacturing was my mom has always been, like, ever since I was real little, like 1 year old, she was working in Strongwell. Has been for the last 15 years, I believe. She, you know, it's definitely not a very easy field, but I definitely do enjoy it because my dad and my grandpa was welders. My papa had worked in the John Deere company. I've always just had like a big interest in working with my hands, working on machines and stuff like that. What I really like about this class is the fact that I don't have to worry about what other people are gonna choose. I can, I can craft what I want with my bare hands. Mr. Anderson is just a really cool dude. He's really chill. He's helped us out, taught us about everything in here. Whenever I was watching the Robinette video, I did get really intrigued because, those are everyday products that, I can say that I helped out in the making of. And I just really found a lot of interest in designing them and making the machines make them. You know what I'm saying? I had told Miss Delgadio that, this is a very interesting thing for me, and I really think I'd enjoy working with machines because I always wanted to work on machines. Like, I mainly want to try to be a contract welder on the side while working in like a factory and stuff like that. My mom is a little bit tight on money because of all the bills and her mortgage and all that. I, want to be able to help her out a lot, and I feel like if I, can get into a job that pays more, I can get more hours and stuff like that, I can help them out a lot, my mom out a lot more. Not everybody's dream, but it's mine and I'm happy about it.
Yeah, so as my pastor used to say, if that doesn't set your heart on fire, your wood is wet.
So thank you all again for serving on the panel, for serving the workforce in East Tennessee and what you all are doing. We really appreciate you sharing everything that you have today and being here with us. I do want to thank the audience for being here. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Holly for just a second, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A.
Yeah, go ahead and open up Q&A, and then we'll close out later. Anybody got questions? I'm going to come to you if you'll hang out, and then we'll pass that mic up there to the panelists. Anyone?
I could talk loud. I don't need that. I heard a term mentioned up there earlier that I wasn't sure what it is, a cohort. What is a cohort in this process?
I don't know if it'll reach over there for you.
I have a degree in theater, no problem. It's when you have a group. It's when you have a group of apprentices and they're at the same point in the program. Like maybe they're all from a single company, or maybe it's just that they're a group of apprentices that are coming into the system, the apprenticeship system, at one time. And what the benefit that has is they can support each other. They're all at the same stage. They get to know each other really well, both going to class, and if they work together, that just builds on that. And so I like to run cohorts whenever I can because it does create a better support system for the students, for the apprentices.
So it's sort of like a class of individuals.
Yes, it's unofficial. There's nothing in writing anywhere. That's just that is just really a nice way to do it if you can.
Saw another question too. Frida, was somebody up here before?
I was going to be a filler, but that's, if there are other questions. So for you, Pam, what are some of the other benefits of the college being the sponsor of the program as opposed to an employer taking on that responsibility for themselves? Are there benefits that you provide?
I would say the main benefits we provide are that we're handling all the paperwork, including actually writing the program outline. All they need to do is tell me what they want, and we'll get it down on paper and get it submitted. One thing we haven't talked about that maybe we all might want to touch on is on-the-job training. If you know anything about apprenticeships, you know that's half the game. Classwork is only half. On-the-job training is the other half, or maybe even more than half. For our industrial maintenance apprentices, they get 1,290 hours of schooling, but they get up to 6,000 hours of OJT, depending on which program they're in. And so we track that as well. The employers don't have to track that. They don't have to report it anywhere because we do that for them. And the way we do it at Chat State is we do it on a quarterly basis. At the end of each quarter, I contact all my HR managers. I say, how's Johnny doing? How many hours did he get this quarter? And we track it that way. And that also gives me a nice chance to check in with everybody every quarter, see how it's going, see if there's been any issues, anything has come up. That's when they tell me, oh, we want to start a new guy in January. And I say, awesome, let's do it. And so that just, repeating what I also said earlier, if we're the sponsor, you don't have to go through all of the paperwork and all of the getting ready if you only want to do it for one person. We will take care of that one person for you.
Yes, I just wanted to add that if it weren't for the local college, I mean, it's a slog being in HR. I mean, there is a lot of paperwork going on other than, the apprenticeship program. If it weren't for our local college, Northeast State is who I used. If it weren't for them, I'm not sure I could have gotten it done because they did the heavy lifting, as Pam said, and they were a godsend. And the most difficult part of the whole thing, and I wanted to mention this earlier, is Pam said that there is on-the-job training. Well, there has to be some sort of curriculum set out. And the hardest part for me was to get the plant manager and the production manager all on one page and to get the information back to me, and I had to chase them. That was the most difficult part of the whole process, and that's really not that bad. I finally said, if you don't pick, I'm going to pick it for you. So that got them going.
I had a question really not a question. I think I know the answer for Robinette, but can you share how you got your employer on board with hiring people 16, 17, 18 years old? I know that's usually a hurdle, and if you could share from an employer perspective how you made that happen internally.
Yes, and it wasn't that difficult. Number one, we were desperate for employees. I mentioned that early on. We were desperate. And this is a no-brainer when you look at it from the aspect of you're going to build a pipeline for your future. The Robinette Company has been around over 40 years. It's locally owned, family owned, and it's being passed down to the next generation, and they are very interested in keeping, or inventing a pipeline and keeping it open. What was your second question? I'm sorry.
What you had to do legally internally.
Yes. Yeah, and Steve may want to touch on this. So the state has Ken Neely, and he came all the way to Bristol and was very happy to do so, and spent an afternoon with me walking through the plant, talking to the operators of the production equipment, the printing equipment, and he just, took lots of good notes and came back and gave us his report as to what, the students could or could not work on. It was very simple, and he was very happy to do that.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So Kenneth Neely, part of our Workplace Regulations and Compliance Division at the department. I'll steal from our previous commissioner, Jeff McCord. We're the folks who can get you in trouble if you're an employer, right? Department of Labor. If you've got individuals who are under the age of 18 who are working in your facility, that's what this whole WRC, that whole process was intended to alleviate, right? They come in, as Carolyn was talking about, they come in, Kenneth walks through the plant, walks through the facility, walks through the environment, working with the employer to identify what are things that a 16, 17-year-old can do, what are things that they cannot do, and you probably would be surprised at everything that they can do, things that are available to them. But it is a consultative function that we have and that we offer to employers to hopefully help navigate some of those legal hurdles.
Yes.
Other questions?
I'm very timid, voice already.
Thanks, Todd.
I'm just curious how from the company perspective and also from the education perspective, how are you funding this? I know that there's dollars available for, like through Give Grant and also with some apprentice dollars through the Midas Grant. So I'm just wondering how that pencils out for the company and also for the college.
Well, for the Robinette Company, we did not consider anything other than our high turnover. And our turnover rate, don't repeat this, cone of silence, our turnover rate is 56%. From 2020, every year, it's been 56%. That's an extremely high turnover rate. Before COVID, it was hovering around 20, which I thought was high. Now I know what high is. For us to be able to build the pipeline, we were already investing so much money in trying to get people in, get them orientated, get them trained up, and the money that we lost doing that was almost $1 million. So that will pay for a lot of education.
Most of our employers do pay for the students. Thanks to Tennessee Promise and Reconnect, they usually end up not paying a whole lot, which, boy, does that make my job easier. But as you may or may not know, if you pay attention in the news, apprenticeships are a big deal, and there is federal money coming down the pike fairly regularly. You mentioned Midas Grant, that's the most recent one. We heard about that one about a year ago, and I looked at it and I said, well, we've got about a dozen apprentices that should qualify for this. And so I signed up, and we went through the paperwork and got all our T's crossed and I's dotted, and I was able to let my employers know about 2 weeks ago, congratulations, you're not going to have a bill this semester, and that's always nice to be able to do that. I kind of viewed it as a thank you to them for trusting us with training their apprentices.
Another reason to partner with your local colleges.
Yeah, we're always watching for money. I don't think it'll reach that far. Oh, okay. Excellent.
And I just want to add too, so in a roundabout way, all the support that we have gotten with funding at the secondary, high school level and middle school level, we are getting these we were fortunate to be in one of the first groups. There were 21 high schools that got the Innovative High Schools grant. So one of the things that we touched on a little bit was you've got to have a bank account, to be able to get paid. Well, you also have to be able to have an ID. And so some of our students have barriers to working, and a lot of folks, adults, barriers to working in that they don't have an ID. So with this Innovative High Schools grant, we were able to create a program called Viking Academy. Was able to hire a career coach, another administrator to be over that Viking Academy. And we're providing those services to overcome those barriers. So we have, our career coach has gone to the DMV, has found out how we can get an ID for a student that doesn't have the documents, their parents don't have the documents that they need, and that's a first step. So that funding that's coming in through grants like that, and each of our high schools and each of our middle schools are getting that Innovative High Schools grant. It's coming, and it's actually this year, $1 million for each high school and $500,000 for each middle school in the whole state of Tennessee. And your CTE directors are managing that. So that's another reason to get plugged in with our CTE directors, because we want to help, and we do have the funding, and to create innovative programs that can get students ready for the workforce.
You want to talk about local workforce sports?
Don't have a question, but I wanted to kind of add to what the conversation is on the financing. I would encourage anybody, and I know the folks on the stage work with their local workforce development boards and local American Job Centers. Loop them into this process as well. There's different pots of money and different federal programs that are administered through your local American Job Centers that these individuals can possibly qualify for assistance at a bare minimum with some supportive services costs like transportation, like a high school student may qualify for some youth money to help them pay to get back and forth to their training, or to help pay for steel-toe boots, or whatever safety equipment or books or anything like that. So loop your local workforce development boards and your American Job Centers into this process too, because there's always the potential for some support, for some funding, for counseling, for any of those needs through that system as well.
And I'll say too, if you have questions about that, you can always reach our office. We also have state funding that we work with TBR on, and we work with our local workforce boards. So please, if you have questions, just ask.
Hi, I have a question. At Robinette, do you have mentors assigned for pre-apprenticeships? I know that in Southeast Tennessee, that's been one of the best components in the apprenticeship program at Gestomp, or the pre-apprenticeship programs at Valmont, Komatsu. The mentors that come from your incumbent workers play an important role, so I just wanted to ask that.
We do, and I told Anthony's mentor to stick with him like glue.
I'll just add one thing to that. We've heard from Komatsu that the younger generation is coming in and showing some of the older generation things about computers and stuff like that, so it's actually a two-way street, and they're both getting so much out of it. So
That's true.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Teresa Dunk with Rhone State, and I appreciate you always working with us as well. I don't want to get down in the weeds, but I feel like I have to ask this, and Bo, maybe you can tell me later, but you mentioned using Tennessee Promise and Reconnect and those kinds of things. And just because I came from working with financial aid, it can get sticky in that world when somebody drops out, or if they're a promise person, they're 12 hours, or, I know there's been some flexibility on that. Have you run into any problems with those kinds of funding issues when they're at the TCAT or the community college, when you're using those funds to pay for it?
No, we've not encountered any issues with that. I can tell you that the retention rate for the apprentices in our program is about 83%. So we don't lose a lot of students, so that's always nice. I don't take any credit for that. I think that is 100% the students. The students who are attracted to apprenticeships are ambitious people. They know what they want to do, and they're going to set out to do it. But we have a fabulous student services office within our TCAT, and they're the ones who work with the students to get all of that taken care of. And if anything has ever gone wrong, I've not heard about it.
Okay.
So, yeah, no issues that I'm aware of.
Good, good. And my other question, and you mentioned it, was transportation. We've had a couple opportunities lately where a more remote school would have to travel, and we have been unable to find funds for that. So some of you said, hey, I've got funds. I'd like to follow up on that, because transportation was paying for a bus to travel 40 minutes with a cohort of folks. We haven't been able to find the funds for that yet, or the school hasn't either. So I'd like to talk with you afterwards if you have that.
Do you think Brian Vaughn is in your area? You used to work with Bill, right? So Brian can guide you. He's the regional director. Any other questions?
Well, Holly is walking across the room. I'll take this opportunity to highlight, today, I hope that you really kind of caught on that a common theme with registered apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships is partnerships. And so I want to put some people on the spot. We're not going to do a team building activity, I promise. But just kind of raise your hands. If you want to stand, that's great. We've got how many community colleges and technical colleges in the room today that can serve as training providers, sponsors? Don't be afraid. Yeah. So if you're interested, talk to these folks while you're in here. Also, we have other partners like adult education that we work with quite a bit. They can help with those barriers. Those folks, where are you in the room? Over here and over here. So those are great folks to work with too. And then I'm also going to point out like our local areas that we've been talking about for the funding. Where are you in the room? Some of you right here. So if you've got questions, don't be afraid to just kind of approach these folks even afterwards. You know, they're ready and willing to talk with you. Holly, you got a question back there.
Deidre, this is for you. How does work-based learning fit into that pre-apprenticeship arena? You know, I know work-based learning, we've got to make sure they get 84 hours. And then you've got dual enrollment you're throwing in the mix. And my kids are saying, you know, I don't want to do work-based learning because I'm going to forfeit those dual enrollment hours. Yet pre-apprenticeship, you know, there's just three things going on there. And how does that work? How do our pre-apprentices fall into work-based learning so that we're getting both bangs for our buck right there? How does that work?
I'll wait for Holly.
Y'all don't want to see me run. I may fall.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So work-based learning, they can take it at any period of the day. It's a class that they can actually take it 3 times a year. So and we've had that happen so it really is an individual basis. So a student that's taken at least 2 courses in a CTE program of study can sign up to take work-based learning. It has to fit in their schedule. So they've got 4 classes a day. We're on a block schedule. If we can work it that way, I've looked at students' schedule and said, now you can either do this class or you could take work-based learning, and they change their mind and I want to do work-based learning. So it is on an individual basis and talking with the students that way. However, pre-apprenticeships don't have to have work-based learning, but it's nice if it works out. Because like I said earlier, if they can leave at 1 o'clock and go work, till 7, then they're getting a lot more hours. If they can maybe fit it in their schedule for 2 periods, they might be leaving at 11 o'clock and going and working the rest of the day. However, I talked about innovative programs, so we're always looking for a way of pairing like you are with the half-day programs where they work a half a day and they get work-based learning credit. So those are electives that they need for high school. And they may share a position with another student who works the second half of the day. So it may be an 8-hour shift, but they're actually sharing that so that they can take classes at their high school and participate in the work-based learning. So that is something there. And then what you mentioned with dual enrollment, students saying, well, I can't take dual enrollment because I'm doing the work-based learning. I just found out we got a new grant. It's a $45,000 grant from the JFF Foundation, but it's a combination of dual enrollment and work-based learning. So we've partnered with Robinette Company because we're good partners, right? And so this isn't really it's part of our pre-apprenticeship program probably, if I think about that enough, but this is going to be where we got our machining teacher approved to teach for Northeast State. So he's teaching dual enrollment. It's going to be first period starting in January. And if 20% of those standards that are in those courses he's teaching, which are industrial safety and precision measurements as well. So those 2 courses, of course, there's going to be 20% of those standards that they could learn at the Robinette Company. So it was a good partnership there. Transportation is an issue, and I wanted to add in on the transportation piece. Because of our Innovative High School grant, we were able to buy two vans and a bus. And so now we're able to provide some of that transportation to the workplace and back. And it is a big barrier to working, the transportation piece. You may have a student that says, yes, I have transportation, and then their transmission goes out, and they don't. So those are some things too, that the funding is there. And it's just being creative with it, and then also just having those partnerships already established. I was able to pick up the phone and say, all right, Carolyn, I got another crazy idea. So what if, can you take 10 students coming, to you a couple of days a week? And because you've forged those partnerships already, we're, willing to build it as we fly. So.
Can I just add one? Sorry. Speaking of innovation, the first employer in our area that did work-based learning is a company called Gestamp. And they do their automotive parts suppliers to Volkswagen, BMW, folks like that. What they were able to do for their students is they had the space and they dedicated it to the students. So they are at Gestamp all day. They work 4 hours and then they go to their dedicated classroom with their dedicated instructor that they have for the program, and that takes care of the transportation issue because they never leave the building. So they are bused there in the morning, they're bused home in the afternoon, and they're there all day. And it's been working for them for, I'm going to say, probably close to 6 years now.
Hi, I guess my question is more for Jessica. I work at an apprenticeship school in Chattanooga where we have 443 registered apprentices, but it's more about the transitioning to the state apprenticeship. So I'm assuming now you would be my contact.
Yes.
That I need to talk to about standards, Davis-Bacon, all of that.
Yes, that would be me. So for the East region of the state, that's myself. And what we always tell employers or sponsors of these programs is we are here for you. We will walk you through every step of the process. We will handle all the paperwork for you. And once we get you registered, we don't then just kind of toss you out there and just kind of forget about you. We're here for what I say is the lifetime of your program. So any questions that you have along the way, technical assistance, we provide that. We're here. And so, yes, I'm going to kind of skip ahead for a second, Holly, and just to say there's a one-pager on your table. My contact information is on there as well as the rest of the team. So email me, call me. We'll get meetings set up. I'm here to help you guys as much as I can, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? That's it?
One quick question.
Yes.
And I'll just tell it. So, out of curiosity, ballpark ratio of training that's being provided on the academic side, and also how much is being provided on the workforce or non-credit side, just ballpark.
For the student, for the high school student, most of his training is in the classroom. That will change when he transitions out of high school and goes into Northeast State. But right now, most of that, and I'm thinking ballpark 90%. It's a good question.
Anyone else?
Is that common? Is that a ratio that y'all across the state found?
It's also based upon the occupation and what really the company wants. You can always do more. You can always do more. There's a minimum requirement, and we tell employers that. If you want more, then we put more in there. If you want minimum, we put minimum in there. So it's really based upon the occupation and the employer's need. Any other questions? Okay, so I've got a couple of things to close out. We'll be ready to go. On your agenda, there's a QR code. And Jessica's going to put it up there too for you. If you do not mind, please take a moment and do the survey. The reason we're asking for you to do the survey, so in the future, when we prepare to do more events like this, we know what you want. There's a lot of folks in here. We've got a lot of educators, we've got a lot of employers. We want to be sure that you're getting value and that we can help you in any way possible. So that's one request. Second request is we have a one-pager. This one-pager is also found on our website. So this one-pager will break down, it gives you the general bullets of what a registered apprenticeship program is, what a certified pre-apprenticeship program is. And then again on the back, you will find our office's contact information. You'll notice there's a lot of folks. It takes a lot of folks to do the work we do. And I want to say thank you to the team who's sitting in the back. We have been planning this event for a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. Lots of hard work, lots of just getting out there and getting everybody what they may need and want. Thank you, panelists. You all are so special to us. You're our partners in this. Also, goodie bags. There's a goodie bag on the back of your chair. Please take it. If you have questions, you need anything, maybe you want to start a program, maybe you already have a program, maybe you want to add to the program, simply ask. Other barcode on the back or QR code. That will send you directly to what we call a form stack, and you could fill that out if you do not want to call or email. That will also direct you, or it comes to our office, and we will direct you with the correct director. So our office is made up of 3 directors. Jessica's in the east. Charlene, let's go ahead and put a face. Charlene is in the middle. Shalandria is in the west. But I will tell you something, and I'm here. I go across the state. Any one of these individuals can help you. If Jessica is crazy busy, one of us step in and help. So please don't hesitate. We've got our other staff in the back. Angela, she's our assistant director. We have got Stephanie, who we call our ASA 5. If you all may have met her or may want to meet her, she does our 180 skills. That's free RTI. What I mean by RTI, related technical instruction. That helps you if you're a company who wants to do their own training within. And then, of course, our assistant commissioner who joined us today. Did I leave anybody out? If I did, I'm really going to be upset. Oh, and Lynn. Lynn and Leanne are outside. So those are our 2 folks. Leanne does our grants. She's our grants program manager. And Lynn is also part of my compliance team. So she and I will be working hand in hand together. Did I forget somebody? Yep, our regional directors. Brian. Is that the only, you guys are the only 2 here today, right? Yeah, Jennifer couldn't make it. So all of us together, we're a team, and we cannot do this without you all. So please do not hesitate. Safe travels, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.